Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
What's up? Hi. John's already here. Hello. Hey guys, what's up? My name's Christine. I am one half of the Roomies Digest, and if you're here on this stream, we're here to discuss the Queen of Nothing, and maybe also how the King of Elfhame, learned to hate stories. We'll see how that goes. But before we get started, if you're on this live and you have not read the book, but you don't want to be spoiled, then please leave, because we're going to be talking spoilers throughout this whole live show. So yeah, I'm your host, and also Nicolee.
Hi.
And let's just go around and introduce ourselves real quick.
All right. Hi guys, my name is Jess. My channel is Books Past Bedtime, and I'm very excited to be here.
I'm Rachel. My channel is called Let Me in the Library, and thank you. And I was excited to talk about the Wicked King last time, but I'm super excited to talk about the Queen of Nothing this time because more stuff happens. But Nicolee, you should introduce yourself more fully before I say things.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name is Nicolee, and my channel is Bonbon Reads, and I'm happy to be co-hosting this read-along for the final live show.
I know. Can we even believe that we're here right now?
I know.
Yeah.
Time flies.
It really honestly has. Hey Vish, how's it going? And I don't regret a single minute of it. I've had such a fun time.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So we pick up in the Queen of Nothing, basically, right where we left off. Like, Jude is in the human world. She's pissed at Carden. And she's kind of in the mode of, well, he didn't want me there, so I'm not going to reach out because #petty, So how did we feel at the beginning of this book? Like, first starting out, how were you guys feeling?
I feel like where we ended with the Wicked King, I wasn't sure how much of this was going to be Jude just sitting around in the human world and being like, whatever.
Yes.
So I was kind of like, I don't really want her to just give up or anything like that. Obviously, I know she's probably going to go back, but I feel like the pacing was pretty good for her to start out where she was, sulk an appropriate amount of time without really piling it on with the reader, and then sort of move along into what happens next. So I feel like Holly Black balanced that pretty well, knowing that the readers probably didn't want to see Jude sit on the sofa and eat potato chips for 4 months. It was okay.
We didn't need that scene from New Moon where Bella's just
I was just about to say
that whole book. That whole
That's not good.
Okay. I think that is one thing that Holly Black is really, really good at, and it's getting the plot along. You're never really in a space long enough, and this is a good and bad thing, right? Because we all kind of wanted a little bit more from the world building. We kind of wanted a little bit more from the characters, just even though it is so good. But she is really good at kind of pushing it along and being like, okay, guys, we can't stay here for too long. We got to move on. So
I was kind of frustrated though that Jude didn't figure out the curse right away. Or the exiling thing. That bothered me so much. I'm like, Jude, just look at this from a different angle here and stop being so upset. Use your brain for a second.
Be smarter.
It really surprised me that she never got it. She never got it until she was told.
Also, I mean, there was a scene where she was like, I mean, technically I'm the queen, but no. And I was you're right. You're this close.
It's so crazy too, because Jude is literally so smart, her whole character is her figuring out how to outsmart the fae, the fairies, and then in this 1 minute when it has to do with Carden, she's like, no, he doesn't want me.
I don't have a brain any longer.
I think she was just feeling so betrayed that her emotions, her sad girl vibes clouded her judgment.
Yeah.
Right. And it could be said that she wanted it to be like that. You know what I mean? Maybe she didn't want to think that's how
I think they said later on in the book too, he is her one weakness and her one thing that clouds her judgment. So I think that's what that was supposed to be, but it was still very frustrating for me that she didn't get it.
Our girl Jude. Should I just say hi or completely spoil myself? I would not spoil yourself.
It's too good for that.
Yeah, I think you should read it. I think you should definitely read it. Thank you so much. Yes. I did a TikTok earlier. But yeah, okay. So going back to kind of like what happens. So he sent her letters, right?
Which she didn't receive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She never got
them. Really went into that, I feel like.
Yeah, they really didn't.
And like, I know, I'm like, what are the secret letters? Like, I need to see the Carden that writes love letters to Jude. You know what I mean? Like, I need that.
Yeah.
That's what I kept thinking about when I read that. I was like, this man.
And like, where did they go? Did we figure out where they went?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. Like, can we write Holly Black and be like, can we have a novella just of the letters? Anyway, but I think
they did go somewhere, right? Like, wasn't someone like holding them? Or am I remembering it wrong?
I thought it was his mom.
Yeah, I think it was the mom. That was.
I thought it was his mom who was holding them from being released. Right. But in terms of, like, I would like to see it. That's what I mean.
Exactly. And I like that part also too, because Carden's so confident in his feelings for Jude. And it's so fun how he's just like, didn't you get my letters?
Like, obviously it explains.
Yeah, like why? And he thinks she's having like a temper tantrum, basically. Like he's like, okay, funny
and
joke.
And across his mind too that she didn't get it when it was happening even.
Yeah. And I'm just like, Jude, he loves you. Crazy. Come on.
To be fair, like, it's not a healthy relationship.
No, it's not.
That's true.
For her to be like, I trusted you and you betrayed me. Then I trusted you tentatively and you betrayed me again. I'm not going to do it again. That would make me an idiot. And for him to be like, Jude, baby, I sent you letters. Come on. And her to be like, no, this is another trick. Absolutely not. Like, I understand to a degree where I'm like, okay. Because, like, you don't want to get hurt again for, like, the fourth or fifth time in a row, but still.
True. I also, I did a lot of, like, interpretive text reading, I guess. Like, I was reading the whole book, so I was like, I know this is not what we think it is. So the reason why she goes back to Fairyland is because of her sister, Taryn, right? Up until this point, like, how have you guys felt about Taryn? I really could have given a crap less about her.
I hated her.
Yeah.
She kind of sucks.
Yeah, I was like, you stink. Your novella should never have been written. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so I didn't really like Taryn, and the fact that she goes back to the Fairylands to like save her.
First of all, the fact that Taryn shows up and is like, hey,
one,
so you killed Locke.
Yeah, two.
And it's like, okay. And it's like, also pregnant. It's like, okay. And it's like, so even though I've done everything wrong, I have not earned your trust, I've done like a lot to really not earn your trust, why don't you go pretend to be me in fake court so that way I don't get arrested for doing the murder, which I definitely did.
Right.
Like, the guts to go do that. Like,
I think it's the epitome of Taryn. She takes.
Yeah.
Like, she's a taker. She takes. And Jude, as much as she wants to be hardcore, like Jude is a giver. Like, she gives no matter what, you know? But also at the same time, I think she also wanted to return a little bit.
Yeah, I think she more so for selfish reasons than for helping Taryn reasons. So,
oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And the fact that Carden knows that it's her, too, from the beginning, I'm like, your mans. Go get your mans, okay? He loves you.
I love that part, honestly.
Yeah, me too.
Did you guys figure out it was a trick when it happened or when Carden revealed it? The trick...
Banishment, I think.
The trick of the banishment. Yeah, I think honestly the four of us may have been talking about this together.
We did. That's what I found out.
I feel like we all were like,
because I knew something was weird about it. I was like, there's no way. So I started thinking about it a little bit more, and I'm like, I bet it was some kind of trick of the language where he didn't actually banish her and Jude's just being an idiot.
Yeah. I definitely had like an inkling that was like what was going on. And I was like, is it as obvious as just like, well, you're the king, so you're the queen, I mean, so that like, oh, until the crown deems it so, or whatever. And I was like, why are you even saying, like, it seems too obvious that I was kind of like, this isn't it.
Yeah, I had some doubts at first that maybe it was going to be something totally different, but I was like, that makes the most logical sense that that's what was happening. So
yeah,
and
I think
probably what was happening.
we were talking about it during the Wicked King live show, and Jess, you were in the comments, I think, and you were like, think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. Think about it. Like, you said this. Then we were like, okay, for sure. This was a thing that he did privately with Jude as a private ceremony to be like, nobody else knows this, but you are the queen now. Now I'm going to publicly do this thing, but trust me, it's all like for a reason.
Right. And he said that in the second book, he was like, I show people what they want to see, but like that's not the actual real me. You know what I mean? Like he's sneakier than he makes people believe.
Yeah.
And it's like, as soon as he said that, I was like, Jude, come on, you know your man. You know.
I just knew like everything was working up to like Carden like worships Jude. So there's no way like in my head that he would betray her like that. It had to be some kind of trick. But so Jude, on the other hand, is like a wild card, but I didn't ever think that Carden was a wild card. So no.
I didn't either. And it's just, we kind of touched on this at the end of the last live show, but it's like, just the fact that like flowers are coming up when they're getting married, like it's showing his true self, like his true emotions. You know, obviously he loves her and he's happy with her. And I don't think he would ever banish her for real. So, okay. All right. So she comes back.
Well,
and
also, I just want to say, I love like a lot of the things that Holly Black does in each book in terms of like, I mean, like, first of all, we're following a very interesting character in Jude, but I love the situations that she puts her in. So in this book, for her to have to pretend to be her twin sister, I love that. Like, I don't know if that's a trope or something, but I love it. Like when like identical people have to switch places and impersonate each other and just see how far it can go. And like, I do, like, obviously I love the fact that like Carden kind of is like, oh, like I see what's going on here, but like Jude has the upper hand from having that ability to, you know, like not really be glamored at all, which obviously is like the reason that she's being sent, but it does create the situation where she has to think like, what would Taryn do? Okay, now I have to do that, but Taryn wouldn't be like too like obedient, but she would be obedient enough. So now I have to try to be this thing. But I think what adds like the little twist to it is that she has to impersonate someone that she really just doesn't like. So it's not really like, let me impersonate my best friend, but it's like, here's this person who's basically betrayed me, and now I have to think inside their head, what would they do? And let me trick everybody. So I feel like in terms of like parallels, Carden and Jude are kind of playing the same game often, where they have to kind of show people what they're expecting to see. And in some senses, it's like, let me impersonate this person for the sake of this plan. But in Carden's sense, because we don't see inside his head, we don't always know what's going on with him. But for him, it's always like, let me be the cruelest possible version of this thing. You think I'm going to be this cruel, I'm going to be that cruel, I'm going to be even worse. So that way, nobody really knows what's going on with me. And I think that's kind of why they make such a great pair together.
Oh, they do. They make such a good pair.
I would completely agree with that. And also, like, what you were just describing reminds me of what you were talking about in the past live show about how you were interested to seeing if Jude was going to have to depend on something other than her physical, like, brutality. And I felt like the last book really involved, like, her mental state and her wit. And it was really interesting to see.
Well, and I feel like, too, like, not only does she hate Taryn, I feel like she also doesn't know Taryn very well either. So I feel like that added another element. But again, I feel like she had the same benefit in pretending to be Taryn as she did when she was in the Undersea, and that the fairies, like, think that they're so powerful that they become gullible.
Yeah.
And don't expect a lot of Taryn, specifically, even worse than Jude. So, like, it was easier for her to do it.
Yeah.
Too, which I think is like another interesting dynamic, and I feel like it's kind of like a convenience thing. At the same
it is
time.
A little bit convenient, yeah. But I think it makes for a good balance. Like what you're saying, Nicolee, where she has to like use her wit. I think that's really like Jude's most powerful tool in general, is her mental fortitude. But like you're saying, Jess, like it is definitely like a convenience factor. And I think that like, you know, a different author might have approached it from a different way and made it like really complicated. But the thing is, then you have to make Jude really, really smart and really figure it out without just giving her the answer. So I feel like, you know, for like a YA fantasy, I feel like this is like a decent balance of that, you know, showing that she really is a smart person, but not being like, you know, now you got to do astrophysics to figure out
complicating it.
Like, it's just complicated enough that I'm like, all right, I can accept it. I'll suspend my disbelief just enough, you know?
Yeah, I agree. I also think, like Jude's point of view, I really enjoyed it in this book just because like we throughout the whole series have seen how she doesn't like Carden, right? She hates him, but then she's warring with herself and she's like, but I kind of do like him a little, you know, like he's annoying and I hate him, but I am having these feelings for him. And she's constantly, we kind of touched on this last show, but denying it. And I think it's really funny in this book how somebody points out that she like likes Carden. And I think, I don't know exactly what it is, what they say, but it's like something like, I see the way that you look at him. And she, in her internal monologue, is like, she's like biting her cheek and she's like, why am I embarrassed that somebody knows that I like him? Because I'm literally married to him. Like, why is that embarrassing to me? You know what I mean? And I just think it's like such a fun way to write this character and like experience that. But yeah, anyway, kind of off topic.
Yeah. No, it's
definitely. Like, I also love that, like, when she came to Fairy again, she saw him and she was like, oh, he's so beautiful.
Yes. Oh, he looks so good up there.
And she's like, I can't say anything. And also, Taryn should not be in love with him, so I can't do it. I'm in love with him. I'm not in love with him. I'm definitely not in love with him. It's fine. It's fine. And it's like it's those two warring feelings that make it really interesting for that.
Which is so funny to me.
But also there's a part where Carden's about to explain, like, no, I love you. Let me explain, you know, the letters that I sent, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden Maddock's troops attack. So it's sort of like we almost got it, but not quite.
Yeah,
it kind of reminded me of like the High School Musical trilogy, where it was like such a big thing that like when are Troy and Gabriella gonna kiss? So they never kiss. They're always interrupted. I feel like Sally Black was doing the same thing.
He does that, yeah, throughout the whole. Like, honestly, it's fine though. I guess like build the suspense. But yeah. So basically, she gets taken because Maddock's like, oh, don't worry, Taryn. You know, you're my daughter. I'll protect you. Come to this secret encampment of like where we're having this other army to take down Carden because we're gonna kill him. And
but like, let me tell you everything. Like,
didn't know that it was not Taryn just baffles me.
I know, but I think that also speaks to how Maddock is. You know, like he cares about them, but like is he in love with? Obviously, he's not. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like only Carden would know that his lady was his lady. And that part's really cool. Like I like that she went into the encampment.
I think that it also speaks to what happened in the second book, because when Taryn tried to impersonate Jude, he was so trusting of her and didn't really expect anything that he was like, oh, sure. But now in this book, it's sort of like, you know, I'm sure that's something that has weighed on his mind a lot. So since that scene has happened until now, it's the sort of thing of like, I will memorize everything about you that this could never happen again.
Right.
If we're identical, there are different things about you. So even if you try to trick me, I'm not going to let that happen again.
I will know that it's you. Yes, I think that is an excellent thing to point out, because that definitely, he says that in the last book in Wicked King. He's like, I can't believe that happened, you know, because he knows he's obsessed with her. Like he knows. So it doesn't make sense. And the fact that he comes and rescues her, like from the.
I loved that scene.
Yeah, I was like, Carden, we stand. We love you, sir. Oh, I love that part so much. And she's like, what are you doing here? I'm working. And he's like, I came to save you, but
like everybody's like, we all told him not to come. Like nobody wanted him to go.
Yeah, she's like, no one asked you to come get me. I'm about to break the ghost out of the freaking cave. See you later. He's like, okay, we're not married. It's fine.
It's whatever. But I also loved the way that, like, I mean, I think it was like some random person who was in the chambers or something who was like, she's not supposed to be here. She's been banished or whatever. And Carden was like, oh my God, she's my wife.
Yeah.
And it was like,
yeah. And someone was like, so you keep saying, like,
it's like, ooh.
Don't know if we believe you, but, and Carden's like, I will say it every day, multiple times a day until I pass away. So there we go. My version did not come in with letters. I just wanted to say this really quick.
Mine didn't either.
So now I'm like, should I have
Let's
gotten
look.
the BNN, version? Like, what version do I need? I need to obviously write Holly Black a letter. Taryn is the worst. Yes. I was like, Carden can die. I don't know. There's something about like whenever there's a bad character, I'm always like, but why are they bad? It always like makes me think like doubly hard. I don't know. Anyway, that was my
like, are they really bad or
right?
misunderstood?
Because I'm like, why does our main character like them then? Like, why do they still like them? If So anyway, I'm having the same thing with City of Brass right now. Do y'all think that Narcissa was gonna help? I thought so, but then nothing really interesting happened.
I don't remember who Narcissa is off the top of my head.
I think they mean.
I think you're talking about Nicasia.
Yeah, Nicasia. I think.
Okay. Yeah, so she was the princess of the undersea. Yeah, I kind of also thought she was gonna do something like
crazy.
Something sinister or something, and then just nothing really happened with her, which kind of feels like a wasted opportunity a little bit. But
yeah, I think maybe Holly Black was just trying not to have it be like a girl fight situation, which I can appreciate, but also why put the energy into that character? Like we're all, asking the same question.
Yeah.
I did think something may have happened, but I think obviously this book was more centered on Maddock trying to be the warlord or whatever.
Which, speaking of which, how did you guys all feel about the encounter between Maddock and Jude when she realized that he had found out about her real identity?
When he tried to kill her?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I definitely remember thinking back to like the previous live show where I was like, he's either like gonna die or there's gonna be some like sacrificial moment or something.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, is this the time?
Right.
It's gonna happen. But I knew like that confrontation was definitely coming. Like, I don't think they're like equal and opposite forces, but they've always had like such intense tension from the first book, from like the first 2 scenes or something like that when they were fighting. So
yeah, everything was kind of building to that. I feel like I just loved the aftermath when she found out that the Earth could like feel her and that she had power over it.
Yes,
her. I thought that was really cool.
It was amazing. Like that was such a good part. Okay, so first of all, Maddock is like, I'm gonna kill you, so I'm not gonna hold back. I'm gonna kill you if I can. So he really almost does, right?
I feel like that's helpful for his character because whenever you have like sort of a sympathetic villain, then it's kind of like, well, we shouldn't kill him. Maybe he can be reformed. But I do like depth in my characters, but sometimes I do like to have just a plain old like, oh yeah, he's just like an evil guy.
Yeah.
Villain, like where it just makes it easier to be like, well, we don't like him for a reason. We don't need to save the villain.
Right. There's no redeeming qualities.
So I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, like you're saying with like the Earth speaking to her, I feel
amazing.
Like, because she's not Fae like everybody else. So it's not really like the Earth is responding because of like where she was born into really, but it's more of like who she is now and sort of like her claim to the throne being legitimate and not just like a pretty word that doesn't mean anything, but it's sort of like this is the proof of like, whether that's really like just a crown thing or it's more of like, well, Carden has that bond to you to protect you, so you can do that now,
which is really kind of that's more of what I believe is that it responded to her because of Carden's emotions, just because he's so like ingrained into fairyland, but also I guess she earned her right to be queen as well. Loki hurts that everyone hates on Taryn so much. I was so anxious about their broken relationship the whole series. So we can kind of touch on this a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Honestly, I also kind of felt conflicted about her the whole time because I really understood some of the feelings that she had in that she wasn't as aggressive of a person, a bit more like passive, kind of low key. And I could understand from her perspective how Jude can just be too much and too outrageous sometimes. Like I can understand that. does not excuse any of the betrayal, does not excuse any of the sabotage, backstabbing, manipulation. I'm not excusing her behavior. But I would say that I did have a lot more respect for her when she actually was there to take care of Jude when Maddock stabbed her. I did appreciate that, even though she was not the best sister, she kind of redeemed herself a little bit because she was on her sister's side, like when it was life or death.
When it really mattered, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to ask. Like, do you guys think that redeemed her?
I don't know if it fully redeemed her, but...
Yeah, I mean, like, I'm very big on loyalty. I'm a Leo, so with me, it's sort of over for you. But, yeah, I mean, I never really come away from a situation like that and be like, you are A-okay in my book. I totally trust you. It'll be like, listen, you're not ever going to be in my inner circle, but at least you're not like in the wastelands now. Like you helped me out. So good. Finally. Thank you. Finally, but
I get what I deserve. No, I get that.
But yeah, I mean, like, I still found it a very interesting relationship. Like, what I'm saying about Maddock being that, like, he's a real antagonist that you're like, I hate him. You love to hate him. But with Taryn, it's sort of like, you might love to hate her in a sense, but she has a lot of characterization in this book being that it's sort of like, she just murdered Locke and we're starting there. Like, that's very wildly, different from what we would expect of Taryn being such a person that's usually bossed around by other people, and now suddenly she's sort of like, I took this independent stance to murder, and can you go pretend to be me? That's what I want you to do. So it's sort of like, that's a very different stance for her. But I also kind of think that with Jude out of the way, she sort of had, like, I think she would have been taken advantage of either way, but she sort of doesn't really have anybody to say like, hey, Locke's not a good guy anymore,
right,
or anything like that. And I think she sort of figured that out herself, and in that moment was sort of like, I have to do something about this or it's going to get much worse.
Right. She is her own person in that.
Yeah. So I mean, like, if it weren't for everything that happened in all the previous books, I would have been like, wow, Taryn's such a cool character. Like, that is so, like, I mean, maybe, like, murder is not, like, fully endorsed by Let Me in the Library, but all I'm saying is pretty cool to start off a story that way. But I think that that's what creates an interesting balance for her character in general, that she isn't, really good, really bad. And even, like, in terms of moral grayness, I don't necessarily know that I would say she's morally gray, but I think that she does, what serves her, but that happens in a very different way from how Jude does things to serve herself to move forward for power.
Right.
And I think we talked about this a lot with our previous live show about survival and what that means, because Jude's idea of survival is sort of like, let's fight to get the right thing, and Taryn's is more subdued, where it's sort of like, I will survive to the next day by not making a fuss and by kind of following along with the rules as best as I can and just not getting into the spotlight at all.
Right. And so that's exactly it. Like, that's Taryn to a T. I think it also has to do with the fact that she is pregnant in this moment. And this was truly, I don't think this was premeditated at all. I think this was a in the moment murder, because she told Locke that she was pregnant and he was like, okay.
And
yeah. And she was like, you're kidding me. I've betrayed my sister. I have, like, gone through all this, like, abuse from you, essentially. Like, you're cheating on me, XYZ, XYZ. The one thing I asked of you was to love me, and you're going to act like this because I'm carrying your child. Okay. And I can see how, pregnancy brain was like,
yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of like that. But also I feel like that's more close to, like, how I would behave. So that's probably why I liked it. But I just thought, I don't think she was fully redeemed in that moment, but it was a good step towards taking more control over her life. And in a way, as Rachel was saying, like, it's still survival, because she realizes she's pregnant and she's like, how am I going to survive killing Locke if I don't have help from my twin sister, who casually is the queen as well.
Yeah.
So self-serving a little, but it's fine. Okay, so once we leave the camp, we come back to the throne, and I think Jude is trying to get in, right? Isn't she trying to get into the throne room, but she's like blocked by Maddock
I think so, yeah.
because of a loophole. So she ends up going through the assassins, like, I forget what it's called, but isn't
way.
Yeah, like their little entrance thing, right? And there's,
Wait, was this after the roach and I forgot her name, but like they were like confessing their love to each other?
I think this was before that.
Oh, okay. Sorry to jump ahead.
But that was
fine. Yeah, that I was like, wow, I could not ship a couple more. Like, wow. I was thinking that she goes back, right? And Maddock, she stays with Carden. And Maddock is going to confront them, right? And so they kind of have a parlay, I believe, something like that. And she's like, don't do this. Like, don't give him a chance to come here.
Like, don't bother trying to fight him because he's going to try to trick you into some sort of like fake agreement and then battle, and he's probably just going to kill you.
Right. And Carden's like, I'm not a little bitch. I'm going to do whatever I want, So he agrees to it, right? And that's when Maddock kind of says, you're not even who the Fae, like I keep saying Fae, but you're not even who the fairies want as king. Yeah. Like no one wants you here. This is by chance. And that's when Carden breaks the crown.
Well, wait, I think Maddock broke the throne first. He had a magic sword.
Oh yeah, he did. Yeah. That we know.
And then,
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and then that's when Carden goes like, well, the crown is not what binds someone to their place as king. But then this kind of harbors back to what was discussed earlier in the book about, I forgot his name, but there was some guy who was like, I enchant all these magic objects.
Oh, yeah.
This was hinted at in the second book, I believe, because there was like someone with special earrings.
Yeah.
Taryn. Taryn's little, I forget that guy's name too. He's the tinkerer. I don't know.
Those are the bee.
Yeah. I think those were like earrings to always make you look really beautiful.
Yeah.
And then I think he said something like, are you sure you want to give it to Taryn? Because she's going to be even more beautiful than you. And like, you're twins, so it's rough. And she's like, whatever, man. Like, so then into this book, it's kind of like, oh yeah, this guy always curses his magical objects, or like he makes it magical. Grimson, okay. He makes it like some kind of magical effect. And for sure, if he made the crown, there's no way that he's not going to just like let that opportunity pass. But the idea of like, you mess with the crown, this is what happens to you. I mean, first of all, it's a little bit weird because like, think about it. If there was like a thief in the night who broke in and broke the crown jewels, and then you turn them into like a boss battle boss, and then you have to go fight them. A little weird. I feel like you probably should have turned
on a power trip, I think. Like, he liked having control over something.
Yeah,
definitely.
So, I mean, I think that guy really just wanted to, like, stir up chaos. And it was less about, like, what's the logic to protect the crown, but it's more of, like, what if I just fucked with everybody?
Yeah, he wanted to make a name for himself. Yeah. He wanted his name to be known, like, forever.
And meanwhile, we were like, what's his name?
Yeah,
we were like,
what
I
is
don't know.
His name? I'm not kidding. I literally called him the Tinkerer every time I thought about him because I couldn't remember his name. Anyway, but yeah. So what do we think about that? Like that plot point of the crown breaking and then Carden becomes a large snake.
I was so off guard. I was like, what is going on? I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
I did not expect it at all. I was like, wait a minute, are you telling me he's going to be a snake forever?
I know.
I really got tricked.
Weird to conceptualize. I don't know.
Okay, so like this obviously like harbors back again to like Carden's prophecy when he was born, right?
Which
So I pulled it up so I can kind of read
the chosen one prophecy, basically.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if this is like the direct quote or anything like that, but it said, hold on, where did you go?
This is why we have these live shows.
Carden will be the destruction of the crown and the ruination of the throne. And then there was something that was like, out of spilt blood, a king will rise.
Mm-hmm.
Or like the next ruler, the rightful ruler will rise. Something like that. So like, obviously, someone is going to misinterpret that. And like, it's not like it's the most obvious interpretation, by the way.
Yeah.
No, because it could have been like her killing him, and out of that blood, she becomes the new ruler, which I was afraid of. I was like, I swear to God, if she kills him for real, and this is why no one likes this series, because he's dead. I am over it, Holly Black. I've been your one supporter. Anyway, I was having this is me talking to the book.
You are like carrying all of the Cruel Prince trilogy on your back. Like, I am your only fan. If you
I'm a fan.
Well, and that's excluding us, okay, and you know, the few people who are on this live show, because before this, people were like slandering this series, and I'm like, you must not be reading the same thing that I'm reading.
That's what I was thinking too, because I see so much like so many people being like, this is awful, and especially the last book, people are like, terrible, I hated it. I'm like,
yeah.
I'm like, why?
I've seen it two ways. I've seen it that way, where everyone's like, I hate the last book, it was so awful, but the first book was pretty good. And I've seen people who like go into it and they're like, oh, first, second book didn't really do it for me, but that third book, 5 stars, now I love the whole series. And I'm like, okay. I mean, like, that stuff obviously gets me intrigued into reading a series. I'm glad that we all read it because I liked it. But like, it's so interesting that people read these and feel totally different from it, because I would expect, you know, people like to follow an interesting protagonist. It's, I mean, yeah, she's not like other girls because she's smart.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very different fairy situation from the typical like ACOTAR type stuff that is very popular. But a lot of people who love ACOTAR don't necessarily love The Cruel Prince. It's not just because there's fairies involved, but I think it's also like that one is much more romance centered. It's very easy to like buy into the Beauty and the Beast thing in the first one, and then for it to continue down the way that it does, to feel like, okay, at least we have that steady, you know, romantic figure. But in this one, it's really not very romantic, which could lead you to think like, okay, but what's the deal with the last book? Because if it's a typical YA, we know they're going to end up together and it's going to be fine. But Holly Black likes to throw us for loops.
Yeah.
So kind of,
I was like, literally when I started The Queen of Nothing, I texted Manda. I was like, you have to spoil this for me. You have to promise me that they end up together, or else I'm not reading the rest of this book.
Right.
I love that.
Like, oh, you're good.
I was so worried. I was like, he hasn't even gotten his chance to say how much he loves her. Like, obviously, me, the person who's interpreting the text 24/7, knows.
well, but the other thing was that I think she never got to say anything about the way that she felt about him at all, because the whole time she was like, I hate you. And even their little like, I hate you, yeah, I hate you, the little cutesy I hate yous, like that was all she really ever said to him. She never said that she really loved him. Even when they got married, it was like political marriage, let's go. And there was nothing in there that was like, yeah, I love you, or I even like you. So when he turns into a snake, which by the way kills the Tinkerer guy, Grimson, which is very fitting, because then it's sort of like, I'm not even going to tell you how to break this whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
Then it really creates that situation of like, okay, if that guy's dead, I have no idea how to break this curse. Is he like this forever? Because that means like, can he even hear me right now? I've never told him the way I feel. So the first thing I'm going to do as soon as I break this, if it's even possible, is I have to tell him. But it creates that, you know, a little bit of extra stuff. I mean, I know you guys are worried, but I honestly didn't think there was any way they were not going to end up together, because I figured like, it's a YA fantasy. I don't see this happening.
Interesting though too, like when he was the snake, I liked the thought process where Jude was like, maybe this is my chance to get the power that I want. Do I even need Carden?
Right.
Like, which do I
keep
want
him as a
more?
pet?
I really liked that she had that conflict up until the end, because I think it just made her such an interesting character.
Yes.
She made the right choice
agreed.
in the end, but I really liked that conflict of hers.
Well, and that's true to her character, because the whole series she's been conflict about having power, not just like being queen, but also just being a human in fairyland. Like she's always felt powerless. So it was nice to have that kind of like rounded out at the end, where she's in the most like desirable place she can ever be, and she's got to make the decision of, okay, do I keep him as a pet, or like do I kill him and release him and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Well, see, and that's the other thing that's interesting is that it was Maddock, I believe, who was like, hey, I happen to have this cool bridle thing.
Yeah.
So I just happen to have it in my trunk. If you want it, I could totally just give it to you. Don't even worry about it. And it was like, you don't trust this guy. Like, come on.
No.
Come on.
Yeah, and he's like, just make me your advisor.
Yeah.
Right. And it was sort of like,
okay, that part was disturbing. Like with the little girl, the little princess that was wearing it. That kind of, I was like, ooh.
Yeah, it was sinking into her skin. I was like, no, sweetie, please.
Which automatically shows you, like, this is not a humane, let alone, like, you know, in any other way. Like, oh, good, let me have it sink into the skin of, like, anything that you want to control so that they can't ever break out of it. Yeah. And, you know, but I mean, I also think that with Jude's struggle in the end of like, what should I do? Should I just leave Carden like this? I think a lot of that struggle really wasn't about like, what if I have power by like putting the bridle on him or anything like that. But I really don't think that she ever truly considered that an option personally, because I think that that's what she would have thought in book 1. But I think by book 3, most of her conflict was like, I never got to tell him. So, you know, I want to keep him with me, whether that means as like, you know, this snake or, you know, maybe if I have to let him go and like kill him or something like that. But like, I will always have to live with that regret that I never got to tell him this thing. And I think that that weighed a little bit heavier than, you know, I mean, like she definitely has to think about like what happens now because all that power is in her hands on the choice of what happens next. But I definitely think that like, oh, should I like bridle my husband and leave him as a snake next to me?
Right.
Thing was like, yeah, that's an option, but was she ever really going to go for it?
Right. And that's part of her character too, is thinking through all the options. Like every single thing that could happen. She's always trying to be 10 steps ahead of everybody. And I do like in that moment how she is asking herself, like, can he even understand me? Because when I talk to this snake, he's looking at me. He's not trying to kill me, but he tries to kill everybody else. So, Carden, are you in there? You know?
Yeah.
Like, and I like that moment because even in the end, she's like, okay, he cannot stay this way. Like, I've got to free him.
Right.
But yeah, that's it. It's everything Holly Black writes. I am sold. It's for a reason. It's all necessary. Like, you know what I mean? Everything happens because we are here to interpret it. Look, Bish, try it again. See how you feel. See how you feel. That's the one thing I say to everybody who's like, I don't like it that much. I'm like, just try it again.
Okay, I disagree with this comment. I respect it, but I disagree because I feel like it was such a slow burn that they just deserved that ending. Like, they had both been through all this chaos and drama and backstabbing and all this political intrigue, and I just felt like it was an earned ending. But personally, I'm the kind of person that likes happy endings, and I feel like they really worked for it. So.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that, and I would have been very upset if there hadn't been a happy ending, but I do think that I liked The Wicked King better than this one because of this happy ending. I just like
the plot.
The angst and the plot twist and like everything at the end was what made The Wicked King so good for me. And I would have been mad if we'd had another Wicked King as the ending, but at the same time.
Yeah, Claudia, I think this would have been really interesting. Like, I would have felt very betrayed if it happened the way that you're saying, and he did die, and I'd be like,
yeah.
Wait, like,
I was about to say, another trilogy comes to mind anyway.
Yeah.
I just think it's very out of character for the whole series. Like, the way that Holly Black has been writing this thing is with the intention of these two ending up together. And like both taking their place on the throne, one person of which it's not exactly like it's always been his destiny to be king, but kind of given the prophecy. Yeah. And then for her to rise up out of being a regular human in fairyland to then ascend and prove that it's sort of like, it's not really like your birthright, but it's more of earning your spot and everything. So I find that that's a lot closer to like what Holly Black was writing towards. But I will say this would be very interesting of an ending, I think, in a different author's hands and maybe condensing it into a single standalone. I definitely think that this ending could work for this sort of story, and it would have made it very rewarding. But in that case, I think Jude would not really have any sort of relationship with Carden that's romantic. I think it would be more of like a false pretense romance of like using him just to gain power. And it would be, I mean, not exactly, but I think it would be a little bit like the Poppy War in terms of Rin, our main character, being like very power centric and just sort of like looking for a way to achieve her goals rather than thinking of like, how do I help the people around me? Which I think is a lot less of a motivation for her as it is for Jude. Right. So yeah, I mean, I think like with a couple tweaks here and there, it would be a rewarding ending in its own way, but definitely a more tragic one, which is what definitely I like but yeah.
The ending was really sweet. Yes. This type of political, non-romantic fairy stories was pretty nostalgic for me. If y'all have read the Iron Fae series, that was my jam. I have not.
I heard of that.
I haven't, but this reminds me, there's like another series kind of like this. It's like in the same realm of like fae and fairies and things. It's called Hollow Kingdom, if you guys are interested in that.
I've heard of that too.
Yeah, it was like so good when I was younger. And it has like goblins and stuff, and like that's my so anyway, but yeah, it does remind me of this. So I love the loyal Redcap. Forgot her name. What did y'all think about her? Okay, the loyal
dog. She was a queen. She was the best.
Okay. Yes.
I loved her.
Yeah, because she ends up coming in here and she's like, "Oh, I'll be your general."
I just loved so much like how that all came full circle. How Jude like fought her and won in the beginning, and that like earned her grudging respect so much that she was so loyal to Jude to come back and like fight for her and like work for her. She was great. I really loved her.
Yeah. I really like that. We kind of skipped over that, but yeah.
I think, like her whole thing at the beginning too was about like, you know, her, I mean, like I don't really remember enough about like the whole way that this works, but like the red cap being like her thing. So it was like, well, I'll just like destroy your red cap unless you do this thing I want. Then it was sort of like, don't do that. Like, don't do that. Because it has the blood of everything that she's killed before now as proof that she's really done it. But I think it means a lot more to her than just a symbol of what she is. But it's sort of like, this is everything I've done, and you're going to take away every achievement I've had and every symbol of those achievements, thereby making those achievements basically null and void. So I think like for Jude to like kind of like quickly assess that situation and then grab like, this is the most important item. Now this is my bargaining chip. I think that was like pretty, I don't know. I thought it was pretty good to like, you know, use that situation. And I liked that the red cap was initially like, okay. What if I do this and then you do that? And Jude was like, I'm in the position of power right now. You don't bargain with me about the stuff that I don't want. But she does sort of like lean back in the ending and sort of be like, all right, fine, like forget about it. But I think, you know, by not showing that total power thing, like she could have really like gotten the upper hand and then just like destroyed the cap anyway. But by showing like enough leniency without being a total pushover, earned her respect, which caused her to sort of like come back later on in the book. I think like it probably would have been a little bit better if she'd been mentioned in like earlier books at some point, but I don't really know when the opportunity for that would have come up. So
right.
Yeah. But I liked her character a lot, for sure.
I did too. I also thought it was interesting that she was a red cap. And because Jude had been, you know, raised by Maddock, she knows how to deal with the red cap. Like she knows that the red cap has a cap of like old blood, essentially, and it's like their most prized possession, and that's the thing that you can bargain with, and if you threaten that, they'll do anything you want. Like I love that full circle moment. It was really good. Yes. Okay, so where do we go from here? Let me think about it. So what did we think about her? We kind of glanced over this a little bit too, but her finding the other assassin in that cave and saving him. Ghost, I think is his name.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
How did we feel about that?
I feel like Jude gives people too many second chances.
when they could like come and kill her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
Because he just betrayed her again.
Yeah. I'm like,
Oh, okay.
Jude.
Jude, I thought you were supposed to be smart. Like, what are you doing?
I mean, because he was kind of like somebody that she knew early on, like when she joined the Court of Shadows. So I have the wiki up, and it says he taught her how to hang from rafters and not be seen, how to line up a shot with a crossbow, how to steady her shaking hands. He taught her how to climb trees silently, how to put down a foot without snapping a branch or cracking a dried leaf. These are all things that Jude's really good at now. So they're obviously things that, you know, from the beginning when she first joined this secret spy society, she studied under the ghost. So I think like she has a lot of that loyalty to him despite his whole situation of like being involved in the coup and everything. And I think that that's usually what gets her into trouble because she has certain loyalties that she probably shouldn't keep, such as things to Taryn or to the ghost. But I think that they sort of like become a part of her inner circle that as much as she doesn't want to trust them or help them, she kind of feels inclined to do so, which is like, you know, admittedly not the most fun to read about because you're kind of like, come on, you know what's going to happen.
Right.
But that's the way she is, you know.
Speaking of the inner circle, we can get back to this. So the other two in the like assassin's den, I forget their names, but like the two that are
Roach and the bomb.
Yeah.
Is it the bomb?
And Roach.
The bomb and the roach. There we go. I was like, what is the girl's name? I can't remember at this time. But anyway, so she's like incredibly beautiful and the roach is the roach. Self-explanatory. I really liked that she came into contact with them and had that moment where her friend is telling her like, you know, I never really got a chance to tell him. And obviously this is something that she learns and uses at the end of the book. But that was like one of the sweetest parts to me because it doesn't matter what you look like. You can find love anywhere.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't foreshadowing of the whole entire like series, I guess, or like a wrap of the whole entire series. I don't know what it is. What is?
And
also, she was able to save him using
her or something.
Fairy powers.
What? Did he raise her or like something? Mentor her?
They were trapped in the kingdom where like the bridled girl came from. So they were both trapped there, and they went through like a traumatic thing together. So that's kind of where they like got to know each other and I think fell in love, I guess.
Okay.
Because they both went through that like really horrible time together. But I think he is like older than her.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Or some kind of something like that.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know.
But also the thing where Jude is able to like basically like raise the roach from the brink of death using her like earthly powers now and stuff like that. But for him to just be like, oh God, I'm about to die. All right, let me just tell you this one thing I've always wanted to tell you because I'm going to die anyway, so it doesn't matter. And I was like, Roach, I relate to you so hard right now.
Yeah.
Like, I will only commit when I'm about to die because it doesn't matter.
Because I will never admit it otherwise.
And then for them to be like, actually, you're fine. He's like, forget I said anything.
Yeah.
Like, oh, just kidding. Definitely not. I was like, oh.
Just kidding. I love
that.
Yeah, that was really good. I liked the whole like interaction, like that whole character development. It was really, really great. Okay, so at the end, obviously, we have a defeated Maddock situation. What did we think about the exile?
Too easy.
Yeah.
Too easy for him.
He should have gotten his head chopped off or something.
It's like interesting that you were like, you know,
I mean,
this character
to worm his way back in there, I feel like. So.
Right. And I almost was thinking that. I was like, at the end of this book, I thought to myself, Holly Black is about to write more books because this is not over. Like, if we know Maddock and we know he's a red cap and we know he's in for war, he's not going to stay in the human realm and never do anything like fairy-ish.
Why do we want him terrorizing the humans anyway?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And so I'm just like, this is so... Interesting. No, go ahead.
Because the exile was like, I exile you to the human world and you can never touch a weapon again. Or something, right? And he was like, a weapon? Okay.
Right.
As in like, oh, I can hold a rake and if I happen to murder someone with the rake, it's not a weapon. It's just
hands.
Where I was like, I don't know about that. And not to mention, there's plenty of ways you can still hurt people without, like, punch people. But I was like, he's already still, like, thinking of, like, how can I still use this to still do whatever I want? Like, I don't feel that, you know, like, a punishment served to you for a crime should be something that you sort of get some sort of, like, what am I trying to say? Like, you're reformed. You're reformed by the end of it. Ideally, or you're just punished because you did something really bad, like murder people. And I mean, generally, I don't think this is going to reform him at all because he doesn't see himself on the same level as humans. And also, he's like a green man, so I don't really know like what he's going to do in the human world exactly. I don't know if he can like glamour people in the human world and be like, no, I'm just like you.
I think they can glamour themselves because this is what Oak did with his horns.
Okay, yeah. But I mean, like, in general, I just kind of feel like he's not... Mischief is too light of a word for what he is, but, you know, he's not really, like, the one to go down easily, and I just felt like this was such an easy punishment to give to someone. It was a very, like, slap of the wrist, like, just go to the human world for an hour. It's like, this is basically what Carden told you to do last book, and you think it's so bad, but it's really not. It's really not.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think this goes hand in hand with what we kind of talked about, how Holly Black would never kill Carden, right? She wants it to be wrapped up like super nicely in a nice little bow. So you have the moment where like, you know, he goes into exile, but he's not dead. We have Taryn, who's like coming back from being the worst character of all time, you know. Carden doesn't die, like these kind of things. I think it was like straight in line with her writing style, but definitely kind of wanted at least a hand chopped off or something, you know, like something, because he really mucked up a lot. Okay,
I definitely agree though. It's totally like Holly Black's style, where it seems like, oh, let me give you this full circle feeling of like, oh, now you get exiled. But as a reader, you're kind of like, and like, what about the crimes? Like, we have a list. He
War
can't
crimes,
But I think that it is one of those like tiny, like tight little bow at the end to make everything seem like it all was planned from the beginning, which is just fine, but it's kind of like...
It's fine.
It's fine. It's fine.
But we wanted a little bit more.
Speaking of bows...
Oh, go ahead.
Vivi, how did you guys feel about the romance towards the end? I loved it so much.
Vivi and... oh my god, Heather? Is her name?
Heather, yeah. I actually really liked that so like obviously they go and they have to be around each other, and then she realizes like, I don't want to take her back because then she's going to forget me, right? Because they made that deal. And I thought it was very fitting. I actually really enjoyed that part because, you know, their relationship kind of started out with her not being honest. And so in this moment, she's like, okay, well, I'll do the exact opposite, and I'll make a deal with you to be honest. And like, you can forget about me if you want to, whatever. And then by the end of it, obviously, Heather and her have to start over because she forgets who she is. And I really like that. I really like that it was like, you're going to have to charm her again and, you know, start by being honest, you know. That's probably one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, I thought it was good too, because I was just really think Vivi messed that up. So it was nice that she got a do-over.
Yeah, because like that was wrong. I cannot believe it.
Yeah.
I really did not like Vivi in the second book.
Right. It just was so annoying.
So many stupid decisions that I was like, girl.
Come on.
Yeah, and I mean, Jude called her out too, where she was like, you didn't bring any preparation, you didn't take care of her or anything in the Wicked King.
Well, and it makes her even look like a bad sister too, because she doesn't even care about Taryn and Jude enough to pay attention to how horrible of a time that they had growing up.
Yeah.
How difficult it was for them to be human and fairy. Like, she didn't even realize or pay attention. And then not even like care about her girlfriend and care about her girlfriend enough to protect her in this crazy, weird land.
Yeah, y'all, I still think about her getting her finger
Yeah.
bitten off by that
Yeah.
window. I'm like, no one noticed this?
I mean,
Yeah.
but also, I definitely didn't really like care about Vivian for the first 2 books for the most part, where I was kind of like, you know, this it takes me out of the world where like there's fairies and stuff and they're like, let's go to the mall. And then they just go
I
to the
don't like
mall
that
and I was
either.
like,
Why?
what?
Yeah,
Like, how are you
why?
doing this? Like, isn't there's a fight for the crown and you're at like Forever 21? Like, what is
Wetzel's
going on?
pretzels.
Like, yeah. So, I mean, like, that definitely always took me out of it. So I think by effect, that was kind of like the whole thing with Vivian, like, not really interested. When she, like, did all that stuff in the second book, I was also kind of like, not, minus 300 points for that. Like, you're not really selling me here on why I should care about you. But I feel like her character works really well for a relatively young, like, teenager, like a young adult, right? And I think that what she does in the third book makes a lot of sense. So in that sense of just saying like, oh yeah, this makes sense for this character, made me enjoy some stuff with her more, because I think that when you're young and you're in love and the person that you love is mad at you, you are in the sense of like, oh my god, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. I'll do whatever you want. And then usually the other person's like, well, I want this thing that I obviously don't want. And you're like, oh, okay, I'll give you the thing. And it's like, oh, I didn't actually want that. And it's like,
right.
That's what I want. And it's exactly like that dynamic between the two of them. But obviously with the much higher stakes, it's not really like, let's go to sleep and then when we wake up, it'll be fine. But it's a whole situation of like, okay, I guess you're fine with like totally forgetting about us, or this is what you want, or is this what I want, or what's the whole situation? But I think that while they were really together in Fairyland, it was kind of like, we love each other. Like, we don't want this to end, obviously, but there are still certain sins of the past that you can't exactly get over. And I think, for some people in the real world, it would really benefit people to erase those sins and start over from the beginning. And I think that Vivian is the kind of character that really needs that, because now she has enough growth to really like consider what Heather really needs from her, and that honesty is really the most important policy when you're trying to like open your heart to somebody, and that if she isn't willing to do any of that stuff, then she isn't ready for that kind of a relationship. So like, I always feel a little bit iffy with those situations, because it kind of feels like the person who forgot everything is at a disadvantage because they don't know what they're about to get into, and the other person could be like, oh, your favorite flowers, oh, your favorite drink,
right?
I know everything about you, and it's sort of like, what is going on?
You're a cheater.
Yeah, but at the same time, I guess like in terms of like wrapping up the story, I wasn't too mad about it, and I felt like it kind of made sense for at least Vivian's like character progression. And really, the story has never really been too much about what's fair, and it's more just about like, how do I make this an interesting thing that wraps up in the end?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to think if there's anything else crazy that happens. I feel like that's pretty much the end, besides when they end up in the mortal world at the very, very end, and they have that cute little toast at the apartment. I think that's pretty much it. So what did you guys rate it? I don't even think we talked about that. I think we all were like, let's get into it.
I rated it a 5-star because I really loved it, and I liked the political intrigue. I think that was what I loved most about the book series, but I also ended up really liking the romance. And I think why the book series really works is because Holly Black does a really good job of showing you the love instead of telling you what to feel. Like, she really puts you inside of the characters' minds. That really gets you attached and rooting for them in the end.
I agree with that a lot too, because they weren't even like admitting to themselves how they felt. So she really had to show it in other things.
Right. Yeah. I feel like, that's literally exactly what I've been saying too this whole time. I'm like, via the text, we can definitely tell that they are in love
from the flowers.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. And I think it's perfect, because in real life, exactly what Rachel was saying, like, I'm not going to tell you I love you until the moment I'm dying. Like in real life, people aren't like running around being like, I love you, I'm obsessed with you. Like, it's very much an internal dialogue of, what are they thinking? What am I thinking? I kind of like them now, even though they're really freaking annoying. Like, I thought it was perfect. I really liked it. I ended up giving the book a 4.5 stars, just because that 0.5, if it was like a 5.5, I would have been like, losing my mind. Losing my freaking mind.
Yeah, I think I'm around the same boat as everybody else with like, I really do enjoy that this book did. I don't know if I would necessarily say it's like showing versus telling exclusively, but I think like by doing live shows, it's helped me a lot to like dissect the text and also understand more of like what was the purpose of certain scenes, what's the purpose of, you know, this whole scenario. Like I think without live shows, I generally don't think too hard about books unless I'm writing a review for them. So at the end of The Wicked King, I'd be like, well, it was obviously this, or else I have no idea what it is. So like, well, I'm not going to think about this anymore. But by doing these shows, I think it's shown a lot of Holly Black's, you know, her ability to write these scenes and these characters in which you really care about what's going to happen to them, but it's not really all cut and dry. And even like the little riddles here and there, even if they kind of have like what's an obvious answer as a reader, we still get to see all of the different characters' progression through every single possible option. And I think because of the character that we follow mainly and the scenario, even though we do have like the angst of like, I love him, but I don't, but like, what's the situation? It's not like your typical contemporary angst where it's just like annoying, where you're kind of like, just get together. Like, I don't even care. Just get together. But it's a good slow burn because there's so many other things going on that are not slow that you're allowed to like sit in the slow burn until it finally comes to pass in the end. So I still gave it a 4-star. I don't remember my exact rating of all the other books, but I definitely liked this one the most. So even if they were all like 4 stars, this was like more of a higher 4-star, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I kind of went between a 4 and a 4.5, but I think probably leaning more towards a 4.5. I really liked it, but it wasn't like I gave The Wicked King 5 stars. Like I loved that one a lot.
Yeah.
This one
was it's because they're like definitely different. Like you're right.
Yeah.
But still good.
Yeah.
I agree. Now did you guys happen to read the How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories?
I did not.
Okay. I think Nicolee and I may do a little talk about that, but Nicolee, do you think we could do it without spoilers, or what do you think?
I think we could. I think we could
too.
Yeah.
We could too. If you guys want to stick around for that short little chit chat about the novella, you totally can. But also if you want to go, that's also cool too. So it's up to you guys.
I don't mind getting spoiled if you guys want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's
okay. Cool.
Yeah, and it's honestly like it's a novella, not anything super crazy happens. But yeah, let's just go into it real quick and we'll round out the rest of this read along. So, How the King of Elfhame Learned to Hate Stories. Guys, I struggle with that title every time I say it. So I really enjoyed this novella. I liked it a lot more than the Lost Sisters novella, just for the fact that I think it gives us more information about the world and about the characters and about this storyline. And it's not just a novella set in the past. It starts off in present time. So after, they are in the mortal world and they're celebrating. It starts off with Carden and Jude being together, and then it kind of goes back to explain more of Carden's backstory and, why he is the way he is. So, Nicolee, how'd you feel about it?
So I think that me and you had different favorite short stories, and something that I liked about it that was different from the other novella is that it was formatted with pictures, which was really nice because you got to see illustrations maybe the way Holly Black intended the characters to look like. I also really liked how they were formatted in short story form. It was really nice to read and really easy. I finished it in like an hour, but
that was so quick.
Personally, for me, my favorite stories were the insight on what happened with Locke and Acacia. Acacia, sorry.
Acacia?
But that's what really hooked me was getting to know like how that happened, because you kind of knew from Jude's perspective, but you didn't really know exactly what went down. And to read about the betrayal and Carden waking up and finding them embracing naked, like it was needed. I liked it.
So basically what happens in the novella, you start off with them, and then it goes into how Carden's mom and dad basically never liked him. They have the prophecy, and his mom is like, well, you're my ticket to stay into the kingdom. So that's basically all you are. You're going to drink cat milk. Like, I'm not even going to breastfeed you because I don't even like you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like very, like, I definitely advise reading the novella if you want to know more about like Carden's inner workings, because it's from his POV. But it's very interesting because it shows how, I think Dane is the one who makes him kill the consort.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, Carden is in a situation where he's the youngest. So his older siblings are a little more experienced. They know a little bit more about the political things going on in the kingdom. And Carden, from an early age, has never really expected to do much, He
was like a pet. Like the siblings treated him like a dog or a cat.
Right.
And they would just feed him or play tricks on him or play with him whenever they felt bored.
Right. Yeah. And so that's very interesting to me because, he's never truly been loved for like who he is. Mm-hmm. Which we know later on obviously becomes important with his relationship with Jude. But so he ends up accidentally, I guess he doesn't even really do it, but his brother essentially sets him up for a murder, and that is why his mom gets put into the tower, and also why he goes to live with Baelkin.
And the father hates him, like, after that.
Yeah, because the dad, after that, he's like, you're nothing but trouble, you killed someone, you're a murderer, like, get out of my sight. And so Baelkin takes him in, and as we know, Baelkin is like, you're going to do exactly what I want you to do, or this human is going to beat you. And that's when he kind of develops his feelings for hating humans and kind of hating everyone around him. And also saying, like, if you guys think I'm horrible now, I'll be the most horrible thing you've ever seen. Like, I'll be the cruelest prince you've ever seen. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
And I thought it was really interesting that Baelkin kind of, you could see how he started the hate for humans.
Right.
Because he said, yeah, you see how this human girl is whipping you? She's inferior to you, and yet she's worth more than you.
Right. And that's interesting because in the beginning, before that, Carden was trying to, like, be kind to humans. Like, he ends up saving a servant from one of the households and, like, freeing her.
I think they actually cover this at some point in The Queen of Nothing, and they talk about how Carden would, like, disappear a bunch of maids, and everyone was just like, oh my god, he totally kills them. And then they were like, no, he like saves them and sends them back to the human world.
Yeah, there was definitely overlap in this as well as that, but that's why I think if you are interested in that story, definitely read it. But yeah, then it gets into kind of how Nicolee is the first person to love him. And it's interesting because we know, early on in the series, fairies, they don't love how other people love. They're very, they covet things, and they're very, like, selfish in ways. So Nicolee is essentially there because she's the princess of the Undersea, and there's a political alliance. Like, they want the princess of the Undersea to be the next queen. That way, they can have a really strong line after that. But she ends up falling in love with Carden, and as we know, Locke ends up stealing her, I guess, from him. And then, later on, she realizes how Locke is, how we all know Locke is. He's never going to be with one person. He's always going to be looking for the next best thing. And so when she comes back to Carden, she, like, begs him to take her back. But at this time, he's already started noticing Jude. And I thought that was so interesting because he doesn't, obviously he's not, like, in love with her. He's not like, wow, she's so pretty, like, whatever, but he is noticing her. And it's interesting to see that point of view because he's like, who is this human who's over here bossing me around? Like, she's looking at me like she owns the place. And let me tell you, I'm the coolest prince around.
That is the best intro to romance, though. When there's someone who's like putting you in your place or like something, and you're like, who are
you? Yes. What? And that's why I really like this novella, because I was like, oh my God, this is literally all I wanted. I wanted Carden's POV. Like I wanted to know, like when did he start liking her? You know what I mean? And it literally is like one of the scenes in the novella. It's when they're in the river and he's like really just, y'all remember the scene, like he's really just making her life hell, you know? And he's like, you can stop this if you just grovel and act like the dirty human you are, you know, like that kind of thing. And she's sitting there like, I will never bend the knee as long as I live. And I love that part because he's like, wow, I kind of like her. But I hate humans because they beat me on the side, but I kind of like her. And then he realizes, you know, like she also can kick my butt. Like she knows how to do a sword. Like who does she think she is? This human. So yeah, that's basic summary, I guess, of what happens.
I kind of forgot that Carden was like a real bad guy in the first one, you know? Because like I forgot, like the first thing we see from Carden is like somebody's near him and he like rips their wings off or something.
Oh yeah. He's crazy. He's crazy.
And he just like does that and everyone's just like, yep, that's him.
And I feel like that one's even more removed for me because I read that one. I didn't read the first one with you guys. I read it last May in 2020. So
sounds like way far away.
It's been a while. Yeah.
But I like that that you brought that up too, because it's almost like it almost tells you exactly how sad he was, how lonely he was. Because after the Nicatia thing, he's like, wow, the one person who loved me went with Locke. You know? And so he just becomes even more cruel and crazy after that. Which is nice because in the novella, obviously it goes back and forth in time and he realizes just how much he loves Jude. And it's like kind of sweet.
Also I love, just in general, like I do love Carden's character or development in general because, you know, like Holly Black has never written Carden to be like, this is your man. You, the reader, you are in love. Like the first instant you see him, what a hottie. It was like literally as soon as you meet Carden, he is like the worst.
Yeah, you're like,
you don't like him. And it's not really like he's fully redeemed by the end of it or anything, but I think that she's written a really complex character in Carden by not making him someone who's like, oh, but actually I had to rip the wings off of him because he was really a bad guy and I was punishing him. Like there's no excuse for anything he's done in the past. There isn't anything to, like, even if you understand his backstory and everything, there's never a point where it's like, yeah, but actually everything I did wasn't bad. It was actually good.
Right.
I didn't tell you. Like there's plenty of things that we can still balance out on pros and cons that he has done. But I think that it sort of like plays into the, I guess like the sort of like romantic fantasy of like, yeah, he's a bad guy, but he favors you.
Right.
So sort of like he does all these terrible things, but he would never hurt a single hair on your head or anything. And I think that like that's what makes him like who he is, because you know I've said this before, whenever I read characters that are very like, you know, a little bit evil or a little bit cruel or something, but they're obviously like the main interest, love interest or something, I find them very interesting. But the second they start simping, I'm like, it's over. Because it's like you've lost all of like the fun stuff about you with like the banter or any of that stuff. And all of a sudden it's just like, I love you. I've always loved you. All those times back in the past, I would love you. And I'm like, whatever. Like, this is so boring. Like, don't give me any of that.
It's not who you are, sir.
Right. And it's just like an instant like character shift where suddenly it's like he's not even the same person anymore. And I think that throughout the series, he's never not been who he was from the beginning, but I think his heart has changed because it's sort of like this, you know, becoming close to Jude and feeling like we got married.
Yeah.
Like, hey, like, you know, all of that stuff that progresses onward. And I think it does change like who he really is moving forward, but it doesn't erase any of his past crimes. And I really like that it isn't, you know, ever specifically forgiven or anything like that, you know?
Yeah. And I think he realizes Jude's feelings a lot, like way sooner than she does, you know? And so that like goes hand in hand. He's like, oh, she likes me too. And I think it'll be interesting if you end up reading this novella, Rachel, because he doesn't simp for her in the novella. Definitely not. But his point of view is enlightening because you can kind of see how he's thinking about her the whole time. So when they're in the present day, they end up getting into a situation where they've got to go and fight. I forget what the name of the character is, but they have to basically go fight this character who is essentially a fairy that has told him stories his whole entire life, like lessons, essentially. So Jude decides that she has to go fight this person and kill them. And the night before, Carden is like lying awake and he's like, she didn't tell me she was going to go fight this person, but I feel like this is what she's going to do because I know Jude and I know she's going to be crazy and go put her life at risk. So he decides to take her sword and go confront this person that he already knows, and fix the problem, essentially. And so the novella kind of ends with him using the stories that this person told him as like lessons to solve the like riddle, I guess, at the end with this bad guy. And he ends up in that moment kind of being like the hero, even though he's not the hero.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that you said, you know, he doesn't change who he is, because at the end, Jude of course wakes up, follows him, and she's like, what the freak do you think you're doing? You know what I mean? Like, why are you putting your life at risk? You're the king.
This is not what you should be doing.
Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, he's like, I tried to be the hero and I decided I don't want to do it anymore. I tried it this time. I don't want to do it again. So you can save everybody. I'm through, you know? I think it's interesting that you're like, he doesn't change who he is. In the end, he really doesn't. He decided he doesn't want to be the person.
I love that for him. That's so great.
Yeah, I like it. But yeah, I don't know. Nicolee, anything else about the novella?
No, I think that we captured everything. I really don't have anything else to add. I rated it a 4-star because I enjoyed it, but it wasn't like the best thing I've ever read, you know?
Yeah. I think it was pretty for a novella, but also like, you know, how novellas go. Many times can novella, many times, obviously. So yeah, I think that about wraps it up for the read along and the live show. I will say this about this series: I would not be mad if Holly Black comes back and writes more in this world. And the reason why I almost think that she will is because she didn't have to write that novella about Carden. Like, she did not have to do the Cruel Prince 3.5. You know, she could have just left it. And, you know, she's coming out with an adult fantasy soon. And I'm like, I swear, if she is testing out the waters and she ends up writing an adult fantasy part to the Cruel Prince series, I will pass away. I will ascend into the clouds. You guys can reach me there, because that's exactly what I want. So I don't know. That's my musings on what may happen with this series. But overall, I enjoyed it.
Definitely enjoyed it. I'm really glad you guys did this read along, because I don't really feel like I would have picked this book up, or like this whole series up when I did, if it weren't for the read along. Because I think it's definitely one of those like big booktube favorites that everyone talks about all the time, but it just sort of sits in the background like, I'll read it later. I don't need to read it now. But I'm really glad I read it. I was really surprised. I really liked it.
Good.
I'm so happy.
Glad. Yeah, because I was going to say, I feel like almost everyone who kind of joined the read along with us said pretty much the same thing. So, you know, what should we do next, guys? Should we do another series that, I don't know, people
I would honestly love to, do something like that with you guys. I think we have like a great dynamic going on.
Okay.
I'm down.
Pick another big booktube favorite, another big booktube series.
Yes. Maybe we can put like a poll or something in the Discord and see if people would like to do that. Maybe we should start Brandon Sanderson.
I would.
That might be too much for me.
Yeah, I was like, I'm just kidding. I think the length of the Cruel Prince was perfect for what it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, Okay. Well, guys, I think that about wraps it up. Does anybody have any other questions, comments, concerns, or poetry before we end this live show? Someone have a dramatic reading of their love for Carden? Let me pull mine up. Just kidding. Okay. All right, guys. So that is going to be the end of this read along live show. Thank you so much if you guys have been here since the beginning, since the Cruel Prince read along live show, or if you just joined. Definitely, if you guys would like to subscribe to everyone here, because these are all amazing booktubers / bookstagrammers, and all of their content's amazing. So please subscribe. All of it's down below, all the information you need. And you know, go in there, like maybe their most recent video. Give it a watch. You know, do that for me. That's a favor for me.
I've got a haiku. I've got a haiku to end it out.
Yeah! Okay.
I so liked this book. The Cruel Prince Read Along ends. Thank you for coming. Here we go.
Poetry, people. Poetry.
I love it.
No one asked for it, but we all wanted it. So there you go. There you go. And on that note, guys, we're going to end this. So thank you so much again. And we'll see you guys in the next one, whatever that is.